with us none other than Mr. Anand Prakash Jangid, who has been a regular face at ACA. And earlier, we have been very fortunate to have him in our annual conference as well. He has been a speaker in our digital accountant seminars. He has been a regular speaker who has been trying to upgrade us from various for various IT factors. And yesterday, when we had our VP and President in Calcutta for felicitation, and today morning again when we had President Devashish Mitra for felicitation, he had a very clear vision in regard to forensic accounting, the standards which Institute has issued, and we are the only institute who has issued a standard which runs into 23 standards and a detailed one of 4 to 5 pages for each. There may be some school of thought saying that there is a standard 3-pager, 4-pager, but those are not standard. Our institute is the only one which has issued that, and Mr. Anandji was very instrumental in that, along with Harish Dua, who was there as speaker with us yesterday, Satish Shinoyji, and
Vivek sir, and Vivek ji was also there. So Vivek sir, you should
I only played a small part to that. So friends, without further ado, I request Vivek Nevetia ji to introduce the speaker for the day, Mr. C.A. Anand Prakash Jangid. Vivek ji.
Thank you, President. One privilege to have Mr. Anand Prakash Jangid with us today at ACA, deliberating on forensic accounting, future of technology. Mr. Jangid is a chartered accountant, a CISA, and a certified information systems manager and approver certified professional. Areas of specialization include governance, risk and compliance, ERM, project management, designing and implementation of regulatory compliance framework, IT governance, and management audits. He's a subject matter expert in the field of business and IT controls and forensic audit analytics. Worked extensively in technology in various corporates, including Goldman Sachs, ES Consulting Group at Infosys Technologies Limited, and various other big corporates. He has been involved in enterprise risk management implementation and IT audit for various international projects in USA, UK, Japan, China. Presently, he's practicing as a managing partner with Anand Jangid and Associates, a CA firm with focus on forensic audit, IS audit, and fraud analytics for audit and finance. His professional interests include being visiting faculties at IIM Bangalore, a speaker at North America CACS and Euro CACS of ISACA, and has presented various papers on risk management and IT controls at various national and international forums. Thank you, sir, for being here and deliberating on this topic. We have a privilege to be here. The dais is all yours, sir, and we'll request you to deliberate on your topic, sir.
Thank you, Vivek Mehtaji. It's a pleasure all mine, and thank you, Vivek Agrawalji. Really appreciate for this opportunity. And it's a great. I have interacted with Vivek sir when we were actually working on that, and he has an amazing vision. And I'm great. The topic which was given to me also is very interesting. In fact, you won't believe till day before yesterday, I was fighting with him that I want a little date because I wanted to show you some practical stuff in the session. I was not trying to have a death by PowerPoint. So I have to do a lot of research and changes. And it was a very interesting topic. I'm just sharing my screen, which we are going to talk about today. And friends, I'm sure it will add a lot of value for friends who are there. So it's all about forensic accounting, upskill yourself with technology. And that's something which is really important. There are a lot of things which is happening from the time, I would say, it's already, you will be hearing to Chetan sir, you will be hearing there are my mentors. Last 10 years has been a great journey altogether. I would say for everyone out here, you would realize that there's a lot of changes in technology which has happened. And this is something which is a kind of there is a kind of always we say a boon and bane both together, and we'll understand that in our discussion today. So just to start with, friends, what is the agenda for today so that you are all aware of what we are going to discuss? Let's do the check-in on today's discussion. As I told you, I would like to talk about first part of my discussion with you. The first thing which I want to discuss about us is what has changed around us, because of which upskilling in technology is becoming very important. And that what is a very important thing, because a lot of things as we know them has been changing, and this change has led to a lot of impact. There is what we call it as there is a kind of effect which happens, which is very different than what we know. That it is like more of a, not just a, like every action has a equal reaction. It's a chain effect, we call it. Something changes something and that led to something else. And Kolkata being my first job, I was basically, I was posted at Industry House, Kamak Street, and I was from Bangalore. So it was always close to that, and great to have all of you here. And just wanted to share with you some of the point which is there. So that would be the first part we'll discuss about, called what has changed around us, and that's very important. And that I will be spending something around maybe 20 minutes on that. And the next part is going to be more interesting. How it is changing. Basically, when I say how, we have a lot of things which is becoming mainstream in forensic. When I say mainstream, I remember I was when I was at Infosys, I was also coordinator for the CP circle at Infosys. So Infosys, I don't know how many of you are aware of that. I'm sure you would have known a lot of chartered accountants who are working in Infosys. I'm talking about 2014. In Infosys, we had more than around 4,000 chartered accountants all over Infosys. So Infosys is the big employer of chartered accountants. And in Bangalore chapter itself, in Bangalore campus, I can say, we had more than 600 chartered accountants. So we had a CP circle. And I remember that time that we wanted to have permission, because we had video conferencing facility in Infosys, so that we can have video conference with any of our other development center like Hyderabad, Chennai, we had Mohali, and there were a lot of chartered accountants there. So I'm talking about 2012, 13. We wanted to give CP hours for those guys who can attend data. And then at that point of time, the CP director told us that, oh, you can't give a CP hours because that person is not physically present there. When I see those days and see today, and after pandemic, most of the programs of our institutes are being conducted online. I think what we should understand is this is what we call as technology becoming mainstream. It's something which is now part and parcel of our day-to-day stuff. All of us are being, using it and taking it forward. Now, similarly, I'll give you one example here. How many of you here have heard about something called as open source intelligence? Anyone has heard about this term called open source intelligence? If you have been following the Ukraine and Russia war, you should just go onto the web and search for OSINT. It's a stand for open source intelligence. And you'll be shocked to know that there are a lot of analysis which is happening of the satellite pictures and all things, which is actually not belonging to any country. It is an open source. Anyone can use it, without source, analyze that data, analyze that things, and change it up there. Similarly, something which has changed a lot in forensic, especially for investigators, is the use of social media. I'll be talking about that also. Social media is a very interesting place. If someone is not on social media, he is a suspicious party for us today, because everyone is on social media. And there's so much of data about social media which can be used. We had a recent case, I'll tell you one very interesting case, where there was a guy who has posted a picture of himself on a Europe trip, where he has actually get himself pictured in front of one Bitcoin ATM in Luxembourg. Now, that was taken as an evidence in this case, which was related to money laundering and all things. But it's a very different thing. You can see that guy is just standing in front of a Bitcoin ATM in Luxembourg, and it was taken as a conditional evidence that there was a money laundering on Bitcoin with other couple of things and all things, and taken care of that. So what I'm trying to tell you is even the courts are realizing a lot of things which is happening, and technology is playing a lot of interesting role in this overall thing. Or, I don't know how many of you have heard about right now, the new buzzword in forensic accounting. We call that as fraud analytics or spend analytics. Now, fraud and spend analytics is really catching up like anything. Now here, earlier we used to do analytics, which was based on data, but in fraud analytics, you are doing behavioral analytics, where you're trying to connect multiple different types of what we call it as data, alerts, and trying to see or make a kind of connection from that and see a situation which could be a fraudulent or not, depending on the way you would like to analyze it. So friends, we have come a long way. So that is something which we'll be talking about how it is changing it up, and we'll deep dive into each of them. We'll try to see that, because it's very important that we get a kind of feel of really what's happening. And is it something which really is going to change the way we look at this things? And the last one would be, what are the challenges? Why this technology upscaling, which we are trying to do, becomes important? Because there are some new challenges coming. One of the challenges which I would like to highlight it out here, especially for the forensic accountants today, and it's becoming, it's going to be an issue, is on the Data Privacy Act, which are coming in India. Because in case you are trying to investigate someone, as per the draft, we are supposed to mention or inform that guy that we are investigating you. So those kind of things are going to be very interesting, and we have to see how we deal with the challenges in the technology era and try to manage it. And then some do's and don'ts, which we'll discuss. So that is going to be our points of discussion for today. And feel free to interrupt me at any point of time. I know it is going to be a 3-hour session, so it's you are all settled for that. But I am also a faculty at IIM Bangalore. I teach fraud analytics half-grade paper there. And what we have realized is, of late, one of the things which was a learn. Now we are in the endemic, but when the pandemic started, at that time there was some of the professors have done a kind of a very interesting survey. They found that in a regular classroom, the attention span of the folks who are there is close to, we call it as, is around 20, 25, 30 minutes maximum. And that's why you'll see every class is not more than 35 minutes. But of late, what we have realized, a very interesting thing which has come out is, on a digital era, the attention span has gone down drastically. It's gone down. So we will try to see, my idea is just to make sure that maybe every 1 hour or 1 hour 30 minutes, we'll try to take a small 5 minutes break so that mentally you're fresh. And feel free to put out your questions in the chat so that we know if you have any query, we can take it then. Okay, so this is something which I just thought I'll share with all of you before we start. And let's deep dive into that. Okay. So before we start, I told you I'm going to talk about something on what we call it as the most of what has changed around us, because of which technology is becoming a key driver in forensic investigations. And friends, as I told you, I'll be taking a lot of examples. So whatever, the discussion which is there, any examples which you don't understand, we'll try to see the practical things of that. So feel free to interrupt me anytime if you see that, no, Anand, I didn't understand it up, because it's a workshop. And the webinar and workshops are different. As you know, workshop, we are working together. I want you guys to learn on this, build up on top of that, and that understand it. Okay. So here we are. Just give me 1 second.
Sir, you're not audible.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I was just trying to change the speaker thing and everything. I hope I'm audible, sir. All good. There is no disturbance and everything. It's okay, right?
Perfect.
Okay,
Perfect,
cool.
sir. Perfect. Yeah.
So that's the thing. Great, thanks. Okay, so let's start with the first thing. This is something which I always talk about. What has changed? And here I want to bring out my favorite, picture, which I love. This picture I would have talked about so many times, but this is actually one of my favorite pictures. We have it in our office also. The reason is this picture is that the leaders of Luddites. The Luddites, if you try to see that, this were the people who were a protest group in 1811 and 1816. And they used to be the people who were against the what we call as the garment industry. They didn't like the garment industries, all that kind of thing. So they used to say that automation is bad, and we want you to basically focus on no automation at all. And today, this word is used for those who struggle with or oppose new technologies. And the new technologies which we are talking about are really very interesting guys, because every day, I'm using the word every day, there are so many new innovations happening, and that can be a kind of a use for that. Now, either we can adapt to them, or we can keep our time that, oh, no, I want to go with the old fashion. And here, I also want to talk about two more things. If you get a chance, you should read about this Future of Job report, which I already talked about, and the Future of Profession. These are two very interesting. I would say they're not books. One is a research report and the second one is a book, but it looks like a research report itself. When we talk about the technology is transforming every part of our day-to-day working. And when I say yes.
Anandji, I would also like to add, along with these two books, the World Without Work is also very good from Daniel Susskind.
Oh yeah, Daniel Susskind, amazing.
Yeah, the World Without the Sun book,
yes,
where the camel story, it starts with the camel story.
You're right. That is a very nice book. And I think if you're following Richard Susskind and Daniel Susskind, you know that in 1997, they wrote a paper where they predicted that email is going to be the de facto business communication mode. So their predictions are very, very good. They write it up there.
Correct.
Great. Thanks, Reggie. So if you read these books, I don't want to go into the books, but it gives you a kind of a things of what is changing around us. And I think these two things will give you a more understanding of why we should leverage technology and upskill ourselves. Now, here is where I try to take a little chance from one more report from the World Economic Forum, which I'm sure all of you have heard about. And this is actually on the side of what we call it as the fourth industrial revolution, which is, they talk about what are the changing. And again, guys, I'll tell you, fourth industrial revolution is more important for forensic accountant than a chartered accountant. Let me explain you the reason for that. Okay, so let's first understand what is this fourth industrial revolution. So when I say fourth industrial revolution, what happened was we had a very interesting what we call talk about way of, or basically it was a book also written by Klaus Schwab, who is actually the chairman and founder of World Economic Forum. He wrote a book on the fourth industrial revolution. So as per them, I'm just trying to quote them, and then we'll see the impact of that on forensic accounting, not regular accounting. I want to talk about on forensic accounting. Okay. So what happened was they said that the first industrial revolution happened something in 1784 when it started, and that was all about the mechanization, steam power. And that time our Luddites came into picture, because Luddites said, no, because you can now use steam power to produce better and good quality thing without humans. They said, we don't like that happening. Now, in that situation, what happened was, this was known as the first industrial revolution. And see one very important point here, which is I want you to highlight here. Everything started in 1784. The peak came in 1820, 1830. Can you imagine that peak? It's a peak comes because it takes time. It's not easy. So it took 30, 40 years for the peak to come. Then we went to Industrial Revolution 2.0 as per World Economic Forum. And that was a time when there was a mass production, assembly line, electrical engineering. And all these things was something which you could see in this movie of Charlie Chaplin in 1930. I think 1934, that movie came, The Modern Times. It's a very interesting movie. You would have seen Mr. Charlie Chaplin going into the computer machine, not computer, the machine coming out, fitted by a machine again. Now that was the second industrial revolution. And imagine 1934, they call it as modern times. Next, we move to Industry 3.0. Now, Industry 3.0 was what we all have actually experienced. And that was automation, computers, and electronics. There is one very interesting talk. If you get a chance, I would highly recommend you to read this talk by Mr. Ramesh, who was the chair of Deloitte in India. And Mr. Ramesh has talked at Bombay Chartered Accounting Society. And the topic was the future of audit. And I would highly recommend you to please go through the talk of Mr. Ramesh, because Mr. Ramesh gave one very interesting example. He was talking from the third industrial revolution on automation, on computers and other things. And he said one important thing, that he said that if you take two industries in the 1970s, the automobile industries, which used to make cars, and the computer industry, which used to make, like the IBM. IBM can represent the computer industries, and Volkswagen can represent the automobile industries. Now, if you see the way of both of them has progressed in terms of how we saw all of these things, you will understand one very interesting thing out here. If the advancement which happened on computers, if the same would have happened in automobile, we would have one car of Volkswagen which will go around the world in 1 liter of petrol and not require any kind of repairing. If you notice, like even today, I remember I got my first machine. I was lucky. My dad, I was from Assam, and my father had a school, so he was always thinking ahead of the time. So something in 1994, I got a 286 machine. I was very lucky that time. So to have a 286 machine, very few people will be doing. And I don't know if you have seen the 286 machine where you have to have that 5-point thing, floppy drives, no hard disk, nothing. And Prince of Persia, D-Base and all things. I used to play around with those at that time. I would say I was highly lucky to have parents think of giving a desktop of that type and all that kind of thing. And one thing which I realized when I was trying to do that is, even that time, my father paid around per machine something like 40,000. Even today, I buy a laptop or anything on average 45,000. The price has not changed, but have you noticed that so much of computing power has increased? A huge increase in computing power, in storage and everything which is there. And that is something which is very interesting in this industry. It started in 1969, guys, but the peak came in 2005. And then onwards, it's just going up and down. Now, they say, if you go by Carl Schwab, who wrote this book on the fourth industrial revolution, as per him, he said that, the Industrial Revolution 4.0 has already started. And when he said today, he's talking about in 2017. It's already started. But the peak will be coming very soon. And here we are talking about cyber physical systems, Internet of Things, network, big data, smart manufacturing. Now, let's talk about cyber physical system. If you have a Siri on your phone, let me ask you one thing. Let's say Pradeep Samal sir committed one murder. Imagine, and we're not telling he's going to do it. Just imagine he did it. Now, we don't have any evidences. But let's say Pradeep Samal sir has Siri on his iPhone, and 15 days before the crime, Pradeep sir is asking Siri, how to kill someone. Can I take this as a kind of not corroborative evidences against Pradeep sir in the case that he is asking this, and there is a chance that he was part of that? I don't know if you are aware of one very interesting news which happened recently in Kerala. We have an office in Trivandrum, so I keep going to Kerala. I will just show, if you can go to news.google.com, and husband uses snake killed wife. I will just show it to you. So this is a very interesting news. So this gentleman got his wife killed. Don't get ideas, huh? Don't anyone, none of you should get any ideas. This gentleman got his wife Uttara killed by snake bite. Not one time, 3 times he tried. First time she survived. Second time the snake didn't bite her, bit her. Third time he got a cobra and it did. Do you know what was shown by the prosecution? What was shown as the evidence in the court of law? That he has been watching and training on how to manage snakes. So he wanted to have it. So he was found guilty, and it was a very interesting case, which was, discussed out there, and he was brought to the court and everything. And an attempt to murder case was actually done based on that. Now, here is the thing, all these things are nowadays crimes. When you're doing a crime, there are a lot of things which is coming up together. Now, financial crimes also, I'm not taking we are going to investigate a murder or anything as such. There's some disturbance, okay. But any cases like this, you will see that there are a lot of evidences which are there. Like, for example, I'm sure all of you here have heard about something called as, and this is like known for that, but I'm just, because this is a workshop and we are all learners. So I'm just trying to give a Google timeline, okay? So have you tried this Google timeline on your laptop or something? You take it there. So this is called Google timeline. You can go timeline.google.com. Have you tried this thing? Let's say, for example, you want to know where I was on, yeah, Vivek, so that's an interesting one, very interesting.
And then just to give a perspective, 5 days back, in one of my friends who is a photographer, one of his staff took cash out of the shop.
Yeah.
So he took away 50K and he was supposed to deliver some hard disks and come back. So via Google timeline, we were able to see that instead of going to the place where he was supposed to go, he went to his house and came back. And from morning, he was saying that he has not gone anywhere else. So by the timeline, we were able to prove that he went his house and then he accepted his crime.
You're right, Vivek. That's the kind of thing. You will not remember also. Let's say, for example, I just want to know, where was I on, 2017, let's say March. I want to know May 2017, 17. I don't remember that day. So it knows that, that day I actually traveled to IIM Bangalore for a session. I had a session that day. So I don't remember I had a session that day, but this thing knows that, I had actually taken all this kind of thing. And as you rightly said, this information is a cyber physical system. There is a hardware, which is your mobile phone, and it's trying to track it up. Pratik sir, this is a very good point where it says, so Pratik sir has said, but you had limitation, you need to turn it on every device. Actually, no, Pratik sir. I'll tell you why. What happens is, Google Timeline is an app which is giving a power to the user, and this is like a value add to that. But if you take one thing, yeah, everything gets added, Sridevi, you're right. And because they are actually trying to track it up. Because Google has this information on your thing, and that's why you'll notice that whenever you have a flight booking, you start getting an alert after 5 hours before the thing that you have a flight on this date and you should leave for the airport, right? Those things on email. But let me tell you one of the interesting things. We did one experiment. Okay, I tell you, during this lockdown, we were really our office is near my house, and due to some time when it opened up, we were actually in office, and no clients are coming, nothing. So it was actually fun. We did a lot of experiment. So one of the two experiments I want to talk about here, very interesting. The first experiment was with, we did it with 3 things. Okay, Google, Alexa, and Siri. Because I don't have an iPhone, I'm not a rich guy. You guys have iPhone, but one of our team member had iPhone, the rich guy. So we said, okay, bring your Siri. We had Alexa. And No, sir. Only rich people have iPhone. We are poor people. We are Android guys, Nexus people. That's all. We buy Pixel or Nexus. That's all. Then finally, we asked this question, same question to all the devices. So we said, Alexa, who's your father? We asked this question, okay, Google, who's your father? Now, Alexa, you can try it at home. It will keep on saying only one thing. It will say, the engineers at Amazon built me up. And they will say, there were inventors at Apple, at Amazon who built me up. Okay, Google, they will saying sometime it will say, oh, I was banned by, so, it was saying the innovators of Google and all the thing, different answer, different time. The most interesting was Siri. Siri used to sometimes say, the engineers at Apple built me up. Sometime it will say Steve Jobs. And you know what is the most interesting thing? After 20 times asking the same question, Siri became angry. Now that is the kind of thing which was missing in the other Alexa and everything. You can try one very interesting question to Alexa. I just tried it yesterday. It was fun. We have an Alexa in office. I said, Alexa, will you marry me? And you should see the response of Alexa. It's fun. Okay. So the point which I'm trying to bring out here is these are cyber physical systems, because they are actually a hardware. And the Siri for you and the Siri for me is going to be different. It's not going to be the same. So things like this are changing. The second experiment we did was very interesting. And I will tell you, because we were developing some revenue recognition app for one of the clients. And we bought some 30 mobile phones, brand new mobile phones were there. And we have to set up the application and give it to the client. This was for some logistic management issues and other things which were there. Now, when we were actually doing it, we did one experiment, very interesting experiment I want to tell you. So we had, we bought Motorola. They had one model called M81, I think M81, something around that model. We had 30 pieces with us. So what we did is, we wanted to check this GPS because I think Pratik sir has asked one very question that it is only have to turn. So what we did is, because we are in the forensic and, digital forensic is one area where we play a lot. So we did one thing. We took 3 mobile phones, brand new. And in only one mobile phone, we put a SIM card and activated it. The other 2 phones, we never put a SIM card. Okay. Now we gave it to one-on-one each of the person that, okay, this mobile phone should be one mobile phone you switch on. The third mobile phone was switch off. So you can see there is one mobile phone which is switch on with a SIM card. Second mobile phone is switch on, no SIM card, no application, nothing. Third mobile phone is switch off. We have not even started it. You got my point? 3 devices. 3 of my colleagues kept it with them for 1 week. For 1 week, they used to come to office, take it back, do whatever they want to do. They can't switch on the phone. It was always kept charged. The phone which was switched off also used to keep it charged. After 3 days, after 7 days, which happened, and then we give 2 days time, we started doing a digital forensic on 3 devices. You will be shocked to know, friends. There are tools, open source tools are there. I don't know how many of you have used any. I don't know. Okay. I hope it is good, Vivek sir. I can give the name of the tools. I'm not promoting anything. I'm just telling it up. So there are some.
Sure.
Yeah. So there are some open source tools like on the GPS trackers and all things which you can get from GitHubs. So we tried that tools and we were able to get around 90% of the geotag location. And I'll show you also, if you get a chance, I would highly recommend you to download this tool and play it with you. So this tools which was there, I had everything what we wanted to do. We got the extractions of all this information and we were able to track 90% of the geotags of those devices. And imagine, it was very easy for us. Okay. And then we realized that how much information a mobile phone, okay, is having. So my point which was there is, just 1 minute. So this things gave us an idea about that.
We can see only your Google timeline right now.
Oh, you can't see the other one? Okay,
Yeah,
just to. Okay, this needs to happen when you're trying to use a dual monitor. Just give me 1 second. Okay, let me just. Can you see now?
Your screen sharing is off. You have to share.
Okay, 1 minute. Just a minute. Okay, here is the tool. It's an open source tool, guys. Any one of you can just go and download it and start playing. Just 1 second. I have now got control of both my screens. So here is the tool. Now most of the people basically sees that, okay, this is a tool which is there and what can do. The most interesting thing is the information, the bundles which is there here, which we can actually get it up in law enforcement agencies, or you can go to GitHub. Just 1 minute to show you. The GitHub. So there are plugins which are there. These plugins can be used, and all these plugins have multiple things. So we use one of the plugins from here, and that gives us a kind of GPS location which we never have thought of. And you can see most of the things are 1 year, 12 months, 13 months old, and they are very interesting plugins which are there. So my point which is there is, this is what is this Internet of Things does. This information about us which we don't know. Today in open source intelligence, when I will discussing it, I can actually get, there is a site which is giving me a complete list of every ship which is coming to the port and going it up. Now in that kind of thing, open source intelligence is something which can be easily analyzed. I'm just trying to tell you, it is happening because every device, I hope you have heard one very interesting term which came some time back, that there was one person who was tracking Mr. Elon Musk flight, where Mr. Elon Musk is going. And Elon Musk said this is a security concern because he don't know what is going to happen, who is going to track what is. So a person knows every time what is happening about that person. So what happens is, there are some search engines which is giving you this information on all of the things. So it can take data from multiple sources and it can be used for interesting analysis. So my point which I'm trying to bring out here is, this kind of things are, a very interesting concept to use in our thing. And this is happening because of, I'll just show you this maritime traffic. This is a very interesting site. I'll just show you. Can you see, this is trying to right now show every ship. I can actually basically see which ship is where in this world. And it's a real-time basis. Can you see that? This is a tanker, every ship in the world. And you want to know how many ships are in this side, let's say, you can trace it up. Now, can you imagine, this is what we call as open source intelligence. And this is happening because of Internet of Things. Do you know where this information is coming from? You'll be shocked to know how people are using this thing. This information is coming from, there is a kind of a device which is put in the ship, which is for, any kind of collusion and other things should not happen. So we know this is a ship going. You can see this is the detail of the ship. And we have been tracking flights and all things. And you can see his fast track, where the ship went, what information happened. Imagine this information was never available for every Tom, Dick and Harry. But today, this is actually somewhere near Thiruvananthapuram and is going towards Mumbai. This is the task which is there. Okay, this is the thing, here we are, these things. So you can actually trace it up. Okay. I am telling you, this kind of information never happened. And this all information is more or less free. Okay, so my point which I'm trying to say is that there are a lot of things which are changing, and this can act a lot of. Okay, so this is what our fourth industrial revolution is bringing to the table. And the disruption has already started. We are seeing it up. I always talk about this because I come from a financial services, and what we have figured it out. One very interesting thing is in fintech industries is disrupting it, right? So when the fintech is trying to disrupt, one of the key things which has happened also is algo trading has disrupted many of the things, right? It has actually disrupted the way we are looking at the way financial services are being done. So algorithmic trading, you don't require so many traders. So every industry is going to disrupt it, and forensic accounting is nothing new for that. And what is happening around us, this is what I think is the best summary of by Klaus Schwab. He said we stand on the brink of a technological revolution, which will fundamentally alter the way we live, work, and relate to one another. And the most interesting thing here is, you see the next line, because I've read the book and I really love this book. He says the scale, scope, and complexity of this transformation. The scale, the scope, and the complexity of this transformation is unlike anything which humankind has ever experienced before, because it's going to be very fast. I was reading one very nice article day for yesterday, which was predicted by some of the futurists. He said by 2030, we are not going to own anything. We are going to rent everything what we want. Now that's an interesting statement, yeah. Like anyone who's thinking of buying land and all the things should think twice what is going to happen. And if you have to try to go and check what Mr. Klaus Schwab go, I just wanted to give you one example, which maybe making it up right of what our understanding is. It clearly says, like, telephone took 75 years to reach 100 million mark. Whereas if you see all other technology like web, 7 years, Facebook, 4 years, but Pokemon Go as a game was there in 1 month sharp. Now, 1 month here is interesting, right? In 1 month, they could do what people were taking so much of time, right? So we need to understand that there are a lot of things which are changing, and it has to be something which has to be looked into by us and understood in terms of the changes which is there. So this is an important thing of what is changing. I'll just conclude about the what by only 2 points. I'm sure you've heard about the statement by Mr. the Nokia CEO who said we didn't do anything wrong, but somehow we lost, because somewhere people are not realizing that the technology is changing very fast. The advantage we had yesterday is changing. In fact, in our investigations also, every day the bad guys are using more technology than they used to use earlier. In fact, they are so smart. We had one case, interesting case. This happened in Bangalore just 4 days back. So there was a husband and wife who used to, do a theft of batteries of large, like truck or, bus battery. They will take it out and they will run away in the night. And they used to come with a scooter, and on the scooter, the tail light was off. And one very interesting thing these people used to use, that took the police guys a lot of time to catch. They never used to carry a mobile phone when they used to go to that area to do the theft. Because if you're in a mobile phone, they know who are the people in this area, and it's easy to basically profile you out. So what I'm trying to bring out is that your challenges grows up every day. I remember around 5 years back, people used to say, instead of making landline call, do Facebook call. So no, not Facebook, make WhatsApp call. So no one will, track you out. Then there was some technology which came to track that Facebook call, WhatsApp calls. So they said, no, now we should use encrypted lines and all things. So people, fraudsters will always try to go one step ahead. And in forensic, we have to improve ourselves, because that's the kind of thing we have to learn the lessons. Either we are proactive out there, or other people are going to take the benefit of change of that. See, also in the same line, the fourth industrial revolution, our audits are also changing. If you see our audit 1, it was more from a perspective of tools, pencil, calculator, right? It was more of the dinosaurus phase, which is we can call a pre-dinosaurus era. Okay. And then we moved to IT audit. Am I right? So IT audit was here trying to see Excel, CAD tools were there. Then came including our non-financial data, big data in audit analytics. That was audit 3.0, which we are doing it. We are connecting data from Vahan.org and then trying to see whether this vehicle has actually moved or not moved, blah, blah, blah. And finally, we are coming to audit 4.0, which is going to be a very automated process. And the new tools are going to be sensors. And, you know, except for the smell, even the smell, they have come out with the sensors. There are a huge amount of sensors which have come out in the market. And those sensors can be used in multiple manner, right? And those things are going to change it. It can be GPS, it can be RFIDs, you name IoTs, Internet of Things, multiple things are going to change. So this is what has changed around. And we are in a term we call as TDF. We call as technology disrupting forensic. And when you say forensic, not just forensic accounting, in fact, other areas also, we have a lot of cases where technology is disrupting the forensic science. You know, especially medical forensic also is one area where there are a lot of changes happening because of the way the smart criminals are coming up and they are knowing what to do, how to basically safeguard themselves. Okay, so let's try to deep dive. Now, this is one slide where I want to spend a lot of time. Okay, this is a slide where I'm trying to talk about close to around 9 areas which are disrupting forensic accounting extensively. So these 9 areas, friends, are going to be what I'm going to cover for next one hour or 1 hour 20 minutes. I want to keep around maybe last 20-30 minutes for questions and want to have it more interactive with all of you. So what happens is this point, this area is something which is a really interesting point. First one is, we call it open source intelligence. Now, open source intelligence is a term which became very, in a hacker world, it is very famous word. You know, it is being used extensively. Even in forensic world, we see okay. So what happens is here, the first thing is when we are talking about open source intelligence, what we are talking about is the understanding here is trying to see what are the different things or information which is available easily for every person in the area. So those things has to be looked into and taken care of. Okay. So these things are something importantly we have to look into and take it forward. Now, what is so important in open source intelligence? This information is available for every investigator and they can use it better. So let's say I want to show you one very interesting, my favorite source. Just give me 1 second. Let's say I have a doubt that, how many of you heard about Ici Database? I'm sure many of you would have heard about. That's an open source intelligence. This is the challenge. Okay, here is ICIJ database. So ICIJ stands for International Consortium of Investigative Journalists. Now, they have been creating from the leaks a very interesting database of people who have accounts in, all the, what we call it as, tax havens. Okay. Now we see, okay, Vivek sir has nothing out there, but we see a lot of people have some connection out there. Let's say Agarwal family is local trust. So we want to know, this is the Agarwal family, and the trust corp is the one body which is there. Robert Mintz is the intermediary who is actually trying to do that. Now I want to see, oh my God, Robert J. Mintz is already connected in all this kind of thing. Now, it's a very interesting thing that this gentleman may be a kind of a lawyer or anything who's trying to do that. So I'll go to the Trust Corp Limited and see there how many common connections are there. Okay, I see Robert Jim Agarwal Family Trust. He's the intermediary of Metro Trust, Metro Trust. So these two are basically related. Now, can we see any other analysis out there? Now, this is a huge amount of information, guys. We have actually got very good, interesting success. You can try for anyone. I don't know. Khemka sir is there. Let's say if he has something in one of the things. Nothing. Oh, Nand and Jeet Khemka Foundation in Jersey. Okay, and you can see they are connected to how many people. Okay, I'm just telling you. Okay, guys, no other thing. Huh? Don't take it, Khemka sir. Don't take it too hard. Okay, we're just discussing it up. I have tried to check my name here many times. No, I don't have money that much, so my name doesn't come out here. Vivek sir's name came and your name is coming out here. Okay, anyway. So you can see there are multiple things. Now, there are also genuine, I'm not saying they're not genuine. Some of them will be a genuine business, genuine areas altogether. And we need to understand how we can leverage this information. Can we get this information out there in some manner to do that? So that's the kind of point I'm trying to do. So, try it out. There are, if you just go onto the web and search for open source intelligence, okay, you will get thousands of sites which are giving the information. It all depends on what you want. Like, how many of you have used Statistica? Anyone has used Statistica, guys? No? No. It's a tool which gives statistical data for anything. There are charged versions, there are free versions, all of the things are there. But open source intelligence is really a very powerful tool. If you want, I can actually share with you one list of, I don't have time on all of that to do, but I'm just trying to, there is a nice book on that, which I can actually share with you. And also some, some of the tools which are there, open links which are there, which I always go and try to use whenever I'm doing any kind of analysis. So here is this link. I just post it out here on the group. Here. So it has all the things. What you want to do? You want to do a picture search. You want to do a dark web search. Internet of Things search. You have all of the things which is there. Like Shodan. You can go to airport webcams, which are there. There are a lot of webcams in all across the world which can be exploited. What is happening there? These are interesting things. You need to have time. So let me give you this link, and this may be taken as an assignment for you at home today. You should basically go through all of them. I'm telling you, you would be surprised what you get. Okay, very, very surprised of what you're going to get it up there. I personally I don't know how many of you are doing IPR investigations, intellectual property rights. We are doing intellectual property right. Yeah. Yeah, Sridevi, this is amazing. I'm telling you, you won't believe, I charge a bomb to one of the client by just doing some of the IPR work by using the tools out here. It's too good. You should be trying it out. But I'm telling you, there are going to be trial and error. And one challenge would be there. Can anyone tell me what is the challenge which is going to be there for us? Investigation, it will be very helpful, but there's going to be one challenge. Can anyone tell me what challenge, guys? Okay, information overload. No, I think one of the reason I don't know if I can show you my desk, but the reason is I have two monitors, two machines, and we always in an information overload. That is one thing. See, Gaurav is right. Not credible evidence. It's a credible evidence, I think. How do I take into the court of law? Gaurav sir, that is the point. Yeah, so reliability of the evidence. Like for example, I think I don't have to talk to you about digital forensic, but Sridevi and others, I think some of you are already, I know you guys from my forensic accounting sessions, and all of you know, it is just like, it will take me hardly 5 minutes to send an email from Vivek sir's mail ID to any one of you. And now when there are emails like that, how do I go into the court of law and say, no, this mail was sent by Anand, not by Vivek sir? Now, those kind of things sometimes becomes problematic. So there is, I will be talking about that also. That is my last part. In the challenges, I'll be talking about that how do we make sure that this evidences is accepted in the court of law? We have way out, and thanks to some of the very good lawyers, especially from one of my very good friend, who taught us how do we present it under the Indian Evidence Act so that it can be active, taken as a court. So friends, I've sent you all the link. Please try playing out that. This is really a good resource. There are many more links which are there, but this is just the starting point. I don't want to overload you with the information. I hope that part is clear, right? Yes. Okay. Yeah. Let's go to the second part of our discussion. Okay. I'm sure when I was talking about this thing, you see something called as dark web search engines. All of you know what is a dark web is, right? Anyone doesn't know what is dark web, I can actually explain you for next 5 minutes or so. It will not take me hardly 5 minutes. I hope all of you know that, right? So I don't have to waste my time on this. Cool. Yes or no? Feel free, guys. Yes. Okay. Good. So dark web is, all of you are aware of it. It is like that part of the web where you require to have a Tor browser. Shantanu, okay. Shantanu, have you ever gone to .onion websites? Shantanu?
No.
Yes or no, Shantanu?
No.
Never?
No.
So you are a good person, Shantanu. All the other people are bad people who they would have already gone to see, we all know .onions, .org site, .com sites and all things, but there is one sites which are there. It is actually called, you have to use Tor browser to use it. So it is basically, we call it as that part of the world. It was meant, Shantanu sir, for a very good purpose. It was meant for privacy, because today, a lot of people are very happy that they will clear their history of their books or their, like I go to my browser and I just clean my history and I'm very happy. No one knows what I'm doing, but everyone knows what you're doing. Now, that means you are being watched by a big brother all the time. So to overcome that, there were some very good people who came up with a concept called Tor. It is actually an encrypted mode in which basically what happens is, you have seen the symbol is onion. Can you see the symbol onion? If you take an onion and you peel it up, what do you find inside? Nothing, right? So if I have to explain you very crudely, I don't want to go into technological thing. So you become a Ichchathari Nagin on the web. So you are changing your appearances every maybe 1 minute or 2 minutes. So every minute you are actually jumping from different routers to routers. So no one can trace you who you are and what you're doing. Your identity is not known. That is the only point of that. Now, what happened, it was meant for a good purpose, for the journalists or the other people who don't want to be tracked. So there are rebels, there are dissidents who don't want to be traced. But what happened next? The bad people said, "Arey, this technology is very good." They started selling everything illegal on that. You want information, you can get it up. You want drugs, you can get it up there. So all these things started coming in, but it is still a good source of information. Especially, I'll just show you. Have you been to this site? Pastebin.com. No, please try to go to this site. This is a very interesting site. Most of the hackers, after doing any kind of bad work, they will actually put it out here. So it is a paste. Now, what does it mean? It basically means you can't be traced. Who is putting information here cannot be traced. And especially when you are trying to do it from, I'm just explaining it once again, from the dark web, you are literally anonymous. No one knows what you're doing about it. You can see these people are putting all kind of things. Netgear CL. See, this is the kind of way. Netgear, you want to hack into that thing, they have given the complete code out here. Multiple things you'll find it out here. You know, many times we have got information. I was searching the other day, I found one very interesting thing. A collection of 300,000 credit card data from old, you know, Reliance, that movie theaters were there, right? What is, I forgot that. Big cinema. So people who have used that on big cinema, all that credit card data was out here. So it's an interesting place. Okay. So this is, we call as the dark web, but I am talking about something else. I'm talking about deep web search engine. So what is this deep web search engine? So guys, this is going to be our mother slide. We'll keep on coming and going from here. So let me take you to that slides on. Okay. So here we go. See, okay, here we are. Deep web and social media, you try to search it together. See, right now, there are a lot of people who are there on social media. Okay. Now, these people are interesting people. Okay. They give information about everything. You just saw, I think Vivek has given Hunter.io. Hunter.io is a web scraper. Web scraper is a program which keeps on going onto the World Wide Web and keep on collecting information. It can be contact information, habits. So one of my ex-boss, who is now the chief audit executive at Facebook, he was earlier in Goldman Sachs, now he's in Facebook. He had a habit that every Monday and every Friday, he will go to what we call it as gym or for running. Now, he used to always post his before going, he's saying, oh, great day, I'm just going for a task. Now, it means if I am a person who would like to trace what this guy is doing, where he's going, what time, don't you think it becomes very easy for me to know about all his habits and other things out there? So that is what was happening here. Recent activities. Now that's interesting. Okay. Pictures, people. Okay. Have you noticed one very interesting? Okay. I have one question here. I have a question for all of you here. How many of you are not on social media? Any of these three? Raise your hand. All of you are on all of these things? Cool. Now, okay. No. Hard to find. Hard to find. Vivek, you are hard to find. Okay. Okay. But okay, anyone who's okay. Now I have a question out here. I'll tell you one thing. Have you noticed one very interesting thing? First, on Twitter, everyone is so aggressive and always fighting. On Twitter, everyone is fighting, right? Everyone is in a fight mode. On Facebook, have you noticed people put so much of pictures? Like whenever I have to feel depressed, I just go to Facebook. In fact, I have now, I can't actually throw away Facebook because I have to use it for my investigation purpose. But whenever I go to Facebook, it is like I see my friends, they're going for some picture perfect vacation. And I think what I'm doing in my life. Have you had that feeling sometime after going through Facebook? Have you noticed how much nice pictures they will put and their life is so great? On LinkedIn, everyone is a storyteller. Everyone is telling one story. This happened with me. Today I went to this driver, this happened. It is fun. But this is a great information because however different you are, your actually true colors will come out when anyone analyze these things clearly. your pictures. WhatsApp, have you noticed everyone put their profile pictures? And it's a very good thing. Sometimes when you're tracing a person whom you don't know. Yeah, Sridevi, all of us have stuck someone at some point of time. I don't know. It happens with everyone. It can be spouse, it can be ex, all of the things happen. But the point is that this information which is there is, you will notice that sometimes in subconscious, in a subconscious mind, we know this is not right, but people then also post it up there. Have you noticed? I love people who post like, okay, checking into 4-star Sheraton and checking out to this mall and all the things at the airport. Yeah, that's a digital footprint. I love those people. They're like amazing. Like they're telling me, who is bothered about that? But they think someone is really interested. I think only the brand will be interested about all this, marketing people. So social media, that's interesting thing. Now, all of these things can help you do what? Background checks. Yes or no? I can do a background checks. I can do a lot of investigation about you. I can see your related party transaction. We had a very interesting case. I'll give you an example. How Facebook helped us to sell one case. So this was in one of the very large steel plants, somewhere near Ranchi. What happened? Not Ranchi, Raipur, sorry, Raipur. And we had an interesting thing. There was a project going on, EPC project, and we had a kind of a whistleblower has told that the person who was in charge of that whole project is siphoning off money and all thing, and we have to investigate. Now that guy was the RCM, which was resident control manager. He had around 50 staff and some 200 laborers under him. So it was very tough to figure it out how he's siphoning off the money. And he was very clean, and we were trying for around 2-3 weeks to get anything against him, all clean. We are not getting anything. And then one very interesting thing happened. He was tagged in a Facebook profile of his son. He has 3 sons. And this guy has put, he's one of the son, he didn't do it, has put the Diwali photo, Diwali Pujan photo. After Diwali, you do a puja, everyone, all family members will be there. All that photo, nicely done by a professional photographer. He put it and he tagged everyone, father, son, sister. And then we found out in the laborer list that he has shown 3 laborers as his 3 sons and a daughter, and he was actually taking money from those accounts on that name. And that was a ghost employee case and all that. I'm just giving an example. So are you getting my point? They are so interesting things. So related party transactions are very interesting. Due diligence about that person, lawsuits, trademark infringement, all of this information can come. I want to show you a live thing on this one. This is one of the company which has been taken over by Twitter called Tweetdeck. I don't know how many of you use Tweetdeck. Everyone uses Twitter, but this is an interesting thing. It's a very interesting one, which I would ask you to use it up. Now, let's say, for example, if I am a income tax guys, and I want to see that how many people in Bangalore, 200-kilometer radius, has talked about new cars. Can you see this? So in the 200-kilometer radius, Salem is there. So there are 15 new cars. There is a gentleman, Amrinder Bandlela. He's talking about new cars. Someone else. So you can see this is everything which is people have been talking about cars. Let's say I want to talk about Bitcoin. Okay. So now there are a lot of people who are talking about Bitcoins out there. Now, can you see this information is giving me a digital footprint of who is talking about what kind of Bitcoins and I can buy, sell, or all. And I can filter it up there. I can filter it up. I can see which how's engagement, at least one tweet. Anyone done? No, at least one like. There are 10 likes out here. At least one person has replied. So I can see the engagement also. So I can see whether people are really talking about that or they're just a bot, talking about that. Now, all this information here is something to do what we call it as effectively use the social media in our investigation. And we call it as data valence. And data valence, the first part which I want to talk about is deep web search engine. Again, it is different than dark web search. Dark web search is what I do in Tor. But how many of you know that Google can only search 5% of the internet or the tip of the internet? It cannot search everything, and Google's algorithm is not so good. So what do? I want to have a systematic approach of knowing the digital persona of the investigation or monitoring of actions or communication of one or more person. And here I can use what we call it as data valence. So what do? I use these tools. DuckDuckGo is actually more from deep web. It is a good search engine, but these are the other one which are very interesting. I personally like Metacrawler. These are like, they are called spiders. So you don't get the search engine immediately. You put the search program and send it up on the web, it will keep on searching. It will bring it up there. Like, tell me one thing. E-code, have you heard about E-code? There are a lot of information on the code and other things. Now, either you can do it yourself or you can make a small program and put it on Surfback. It will cost you some amount, but it will keep on searching all of that thing and tell you which are the one which you have to pull it up. But even sometime without payment of money. Okay. So search engine, we are doing it, but this is searching the search engines. So Surfbacks, Mama, Dogpile, Metacrawler. There are many more out there. You can just go and search for, this one here. This can do a lot of people search also. I personally like hunter.io, they mention about that. I personally like in India, I like Zoom Info. It is pretty good. So you can have access about his phone numbers, other information, related parties, all these things we can get it up there. And we can build a persona. Listen to that point, very important. I want to take your social media data. I want to build it, what other information is there. So I can get every collection about one person who is my interest or, person of interest, whom I'm trying to do it. So that's how we can actually leverage technology for better purposes. Okay. And there are a lot of tools, which can be used as part of the thing, in terms of our analysis and all that kind of stuff. So deep web search engine and social media are two areas which are very interesting, can be leveraged and managed effectively by all of us. And the most important thing which is there is it can give you a ton of information when you are having one single person as a target to look into. But that is one part of the thing. Now here you need to also know that this data is volatile. I posted something onto the Facebook. Can I delete it tomorrow morning? Yes. How would you take it in the code? Isn't it? So I posted that, yes, I killed that person, or yes, I went there, but I deleted it. And have you noticed whenever this kind of things happen, what this person says? My account has been hacked. Many times you have seen celebrity, they will, in the night, they will, under the alcohol influence, they will post something. And morning they will say, oh, no, my account was hacked, right? So the challenge is when you're doing a social media investigations is you don't have access to the hardware which is holding the data, right? Because that's not under your control. The evidence which is there, it can be changed or deleted, right? Third, the format of service provider can change. He's giving it in this format, it may change over time. And the most interesting, he may not cooperate with you, citing copyright violation and said, why you are trying to take it up from me. And if you take any kind of data by impersonation, right, in other part of the world, this happens with many of us. There are some cases where we are dealing with MNCs, and if there is attorneys are from US, they have a different point of view. Attorneys from India have different point of view, and the lawyers from European Union have a different point of view. So many things, what you do it, you may be doing it right from an Indian perspective, but European says, no, this is actually a privacy issue, GDPR issue, you can't do this. So we have to know all these points and then work on. So to overcome that, you have some tools like Screenocosmetic, which will record the screen. So when you're doing it, you basically do that properly. Camatsia is there, X1 Discovery, Hashbot. All these things can actually have a unified evidence of your link, affidavit, testimony, which you can actually capture it properly and take the screenshot, and all these things you can submit in the court of law. So these are the tools which we use extensively when we are doing social media analysis. In fact, these are the things we'll be using for other areas also, even for open source intelligence and all the things, when you have to show these evidences in the court of law. I hope this gives a kind of a complete picture to you guys. Yeah. Okay. So now this is the part we covered from a higher. Now I will try to go into some real case things which can be more helpful for us to understand. Okay, so I think guys, it's already around 1 hour, 20 minutes. So I want to give you a 10 minutes break. Vivek sir, with your permission, can we give a 10 minutes break? People, let them take a nature break.
एकदम सर आपने जो साइट बोला वो जाके सर्च कर सकते हैं, देख सकते हैं.
हाँ सर, वो सब थोड़ा देख लीजिए. तब तक हम लोग 10 मिनट का ब्रेक लेते हैं. It's already 5:20 in my watch. 5:30 we should start back. Okay?
Perfect. Friends, in the meantime, as you know that yesterday we had a very good deliberation with Durgesh Pandeyji. If all those who have registered for this session, you will get a link to see the videos of yesterday's session. Moreover, if you are interested in forensic accounting, and if you see forensic accounting or you want to learn more about forensic accounting, we have given a link of a WhatsApp group of ACAE Forensic Accounting Workshop. You can just join that WhatsApp group, and in that WhatsApp group, we'll be sharing more updates, more information, and the PPTs which are shared by the speakers in the WhatsApp group itself. So it will be great learning and socializing and networking with all the like-minded people. So if you have still not joined the group, kindly join the group. I'll share the link again. And if you're new to ACAE, make sure that you are following ACAE YouTube channel, because we regularly have some or other session on forensic accounting. And I'm really happy to see many people joining from Pan India, S. Sridevi joining from South India, and a regular at ACAE. So this virtual platform acts as a bridge to reach from North India to South India. And at the starting, we were talking about this forensic accounting standards issued by ICAI. There are 23 standards in that. So if you have any problem in understanding any standard, you can write in the group. We'll make sure that the chairman of the Forensic Accounting Standard Board of ICAI, who was instrumental, and he was there as a guest speaker yesterday, Mr. Harish Duaji, will add him. And we have other speakers, Durgesh ji, we will have Anand ji, who has already joined, so that whatever query you have, you can get your query resolved in that group itself. And you can connect to like-minded people of forensic accounting and doing work of forensic accounting day in, day out. So this 5-day course or workshop is not just about learning, it's also about upgrading ourselves. If we want to go to second level of forensic accounting, if we know the basics, how to upgrade ourselves. And all our speakers are the best of the speakers from Pan India. So we'll make sure that this workshop becomes a learning experience and gives you a boost, or it helps you to improve your career 10x. That's for sure. And if you have anything, do write in the group, do write in the WhatsApp group, and we'll try and solve all your issues over there. Any forensic, anything related to fraud, any hypothetical situation, how to identify fraud, or how to upgrade ourselves or upskill ourselves. And all these links which Anand sir has shared today, and the open source softwares, all the link will be shared in that WhatsApp group. So don't forget to join in that WhatsApp group. Take a 5 minutes break. As Anandji joins at 5:30, we'll be joining at 5:28 itself. So stay tuned with us. Take a break for 5 minutes and join back. Thank you.
Welcome back, friends. So before we went in the break, we were actually talking about the list which I was trying to showcase out here, emerging technology, why we have to upskills and all. So we already talked about open source intelligence. We talked about deep web. We talked about social media. We talked about dark web. The next thing which I'm going to start discussing here is starting from fraud analytics. See, data science has been there for a long time, but never ever it was used for what we call it as a specific purpose, which we can see now. And there has been an explosion of a huge amount of data. Now, when I say data, I personally believe there is a huge amount of data right now. How many of you have gone to this site, data.gov.in? I hope all of you have been there. This is one of my favorite places. I go there on an average alternate days. Yeah, Shantanu, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, cool. So, what happens is, in this case, this valued data sets, this is thanks to Government of India. We have a huge amount of them. And this is not just in India scenario. There is data.gov in US. And forget even there, this is US data set. You can imagine everything is there. And there are a huge amount of data which is there. And this is data. I think Kenya has a very interesting data set. What was it? Kenya. Yeah, open data.gov. This is. Can you imagine even Kenya has a huge amount of data set they are actually putting out there. You have to sign in, that is a different thing. But you have all these countries which are putting it up there. Now you can see there are so many data sets which are there. Now, how does this data set help us? We have an explosion of data. Every government department is putting it out there. In fact, the US looks so boring. I think you should go to the India data. I had one very interesting analysis out here, which I want to talk about. Do you know IRDA data has been put out here? So IRDA has put the data of health claims, all health related claims which has happened from each state. And it was no doubt the data was in line with what we all know. Like, for example, I was going through the data. It was like sanitized data. So you don't know who's the patient and all thing, but you'll know if that person has registered in as base location as, let's say, Punjab. So most of the cases were all about heart related diseases. I'm sure if it is in West Bengal, it will be sweets, right? So diabetes would be the kind of thing. I'm just thinking it loud. I don't know. I have to check the West Bengal data. I have not checked it up. But I found Gujarat was diabetes. That is for sure. And the most interesting thing is Karnataka, where I belong to. We found that most of the people's claim was stomach related diseases, stomach ulcer and all thing. And it is something which is very interesting because a lot of people have actually done. So this data is now available out here. Now, all this explosion of data has created a lot of information for us. Let's take an example here. Let's say I want to just know, like, is Muralidhara sir's related parties, who are the people who are there? Now, if I know Muralidhara sir's home address, I have one very interesting database which I can use. You know which one? Election Commission of India. I can actually check it out, that address which has been mentioned, how many people are there who are having a voter ID card from that location? Don't you think that is like data which is open into the open source intelligence which is available for me? And it is much more effective than the data on MC and other things. Many times you don't even know that this data is a related party or not.
Anand, similarly, when we do ROC search,
Yes, sir.
the address, registered address of the office, we see how many address offices or companies are registered in that address.
Very much, you are right, sir. And now, now also the MC has done all this GPS location and all thing, and we have more accurate data when we can actually think of. That's great, sir. You're right. So this kind of way, we have to kind of do a reverse thing. And I always say, the mindset, which I would tell you, a good Vivek sir told me about that. So let me give you one interesting thing. This is my favorite thing, which I always happen, and because this is all about your mindset. How do you get your data? So guys, when you were doing your articleship, I assume all of you are a chartered accountant. Right? No one else can come in the session. What was the data you personally wanted to know whenever you used to go for an audit? All of you. What was the data you personally wanted to know when you used to go for an audit? Personally, you personally wanted to know for your, not for the completion of that project. Anyone? Okay.
I think which was the mall nearby?
Mall nearby. Okay. No, more than that, it was, sir, whether the client will give the reimbursement of food.
Reimbursement.
I know. Those were the days, sir. That reimbursement of khana rahega ya nahi rahega, or reimbursement of conveyance rahega. That was the most important thing. But one more thing, the data we wanted to know was, what is the salary? I remember I used to wanted to know what is the salary of the CFO. How much is the CFO getting? Because personally, I wanted to know. And salary data is not something which you can get easily. Right, Sridevi? Yes, she will say yes too. I wanted to know. And sometimes we used to feel, Arey, this guy is getting so much money. He's useless, right? We used to see that, right? That's the kind of thing. So personally, I wanted to go. I used to always want to know this data about what we call it as how much is the salary. And most of the company, you can get easily the access to the salary data. But sometimes it can be funny. So we had an MNC, I'll not name it, during my articleship, and we were doing their whole of South India factory review. Okay, because before the thing, client holiday also, Brinda, yeah, Brinda, that is also true. जब client का holiday और अपना office का holiday नहीं है, वो important है. So now what happens is, we went to this place in Chennai. Now the CFO was Khadus, and we were actually third year articles. So we said, sir, we will require this data. Now he said, I'll give you all the data, but the payroll data is confidential. Will not share with you. We said, no, sir, that we have to check it up, because anyway, all the factors we have been checking out, kitna salary, CFO ka salary is how much, and we have been checking all the data out. So we said, we want it. He said, no, this will be shared only with your boss. When he comes, he will get it. You are not going to get it. We said, okay, sir, then can we check all the compliances and all things? He said, yeah, you can check all the compliances. So the first compliances we started checking was PF and ESI. And Vrinda, can you tell me why you would check ESI and PF? Simple reason, right? Because if I have the ESI PF, I can easily know your salary calculation perfectly very much. Yes. So, you're not giving me directly, but indirectly. So now my point is that there is a huge amount of data which is floating around that. It's on you. How do you get hold of it? Now, this is called the data availability, one part. There is a second word which I want you to learn. It is called data. Yeah, Sridevi, not just Aadhaar. Have you noticed how many times have you given your Aadhaar to so many places? Like I travel a lot, and I have to give, the driving license and Aadhaar card at every hotel you stay. They will photocopy it and keep it up there. Have you noticed how many places this thing goes? And this is misuse also. One good thing is that Aadhaar, we don't have our nice photograph, but otherwise they would have used our photograph also. Like anyone has got a good Aadhaar picture? No one has Aadhaar picture, which is good, right? So that term which I want to talk about is, let me type it up, data. Have you heard about this term? Data wrangling.
Anand, one more thing, it has been seen that when we are giving a document elsewhere, I think everyone who is not taking a loan frequently or credit card, they should go and check their CIBIL. It may happen someone else's data is punched in yours. It happened with me long time back, and then I had to fight with the bank that it is not me. It was with Bajaj Finserv, and for a small amount of meager 2,000, he was sending me a court notice. So, and I blasted the MD and then gave a mail to everyone. Thanks to hunter.io, we can get the mail ID of everyone.
Yes.
So from there, we got the mail ID and blasted them. But as a serious chartered accountants or the financial person, we all should check our CIBIL once at least and see that my Aadhaar has been linked somewhere, my Aadhaar has been linked to which phone numbers. We should do this data mining for ourselves before doing for clients.
I agree, completely agree. I think you are bang on the target. In fact, only today, sir, I saw one news on the civil RBI loan frauds.
And the best part is the civil
Yes.
having all the financial information is owned by TransUnion, which is now a US company. And Indian bank was supposed to have the shareholding, but slowly and steadily they have sold all the shareholding. And
Yes.
recently, you know that there is a information utility started by IBC for IBC purpose.
Yeah.
And all the banks are only holding the shares. I asked the CEO of IBC financial information utility, that what's the guarantee you'll not sell these shares also when the value is received by the bank? Why don't you block the right to sell the shares? Because it has been given for some purpose.
Right.
Like now, TransUnion is a 100% US subsidiary.
Yes, yes, very much.
And all the data is going there. Where Mr. Money was saying it is a oil and oil is going to US.
I am telling you, sir, that is true. And this is exactly the news which came in Mint yesterday. You can see it is yesterday's news. And Shayan Ghosh has written a very nice article. You should actually go through and I think for everyone out here who is actually what sir said, checking your CIBIL score will be a most important thing. Loan never ever showing up on people's credit report. And that is something which I will do that. And, I think, one of the very interesting case which is there, which happened, 1 minute, I'll just give you the thing because I got around $35 for this, I'll tell you. I'll just show you 1 minute. But Vivek sir, what you are saying is the most important cases which are there. The data breach, if you are aware of that, one of the very interesting data breach. And as you rightly said, we have to understand that many a time Equifax, all of you heard about the Equifax data breach, guys? Equifax India, ever heard about that? Equifax. I don't know if you know equifax.co.in. I hope you are aware of that. Equifax, this is a US company and they are giving you a credit score in India and all things, but there was a huge data leak happened. And because I was in US and I had an SSN, social security number, my data was also leaked. And as a class action suit, they gave a one-time settlement of $35. But the point which is there is you have to be careful. Data is the new oil, it is there. Now, the first part is availability of data. This is out here. But the second part of mine is data wrangling. When I say data wrangling, guys, you have to play with the data. You have to torture the data. Unless you torture the data is not going to speak up. And to torture the data, these are the tools which are there. We have tools to track large volume of data. And whatever you are seeing, guys, in front of you here are basically, I would say, open source tool. All of them are open source, which will help you in terms of dealing with a large volume of data. In fact, I can say 98% of them are totally open source. Actually, 2% of them have later become paid. They were earlier open source. That's the reason I just wanted to share with you. And all these things can help you do a lot of things. It can help you deal with external data sets. External data set means if I want to do a logistics review, why don't I check automatically that every vehicle which is coming in, every e-way bill which is coming in, the vehicle number is being checked on Vahan.org. It's already getting checked, but I want to make sure that it is really a 40-feet truck or a 20-feet truck. Don't you think I want to know that? How are we dealing with unstructured data? Unstructured data is like printouts of bank statements. Now, this is how can I bring it up for my analysis? Now, there are a lot of interesting intelligent character recognition or ICR tools, which can help us to basically manage it up more effectively. So from that perspective, we need to understand that wherever we are, we have to look into the stuff in terms of managing it day to day, all of that thing can be dealt with. So this is what we call it as you're dealing with your unstructured data. Statistical model. Maybe I'll try to show you some of this. Yes, I think I
In the
have.
meantime, Anandji, I'll
Yes, sir.
give one more fact which I was having a talk with one of the maid who comes to our place.
Mhm.
Nowadays, this Navi app and Mini app is giving a loan on mobile, and
Aha.
they will take the control of your mobile until you have the loan. You cannot delete the app, and if you
Aha.
don't pay the loan on time, they will call your relatives and harass you, and then they will actually go after you.
Uh,
Just see the amount how data is being used by various people. You get a message that you take a loan at the lower rate, and then they will have you in the net.
uh,
And like Navi and all, if you take a loan, there was an article I was reading. If you take a loan, you cannot uninstall the app till the loan is active, and they
uh-huh.
are taking all your data. And for that matter, Trade, which is very successful now, it is all about data.
Yes, yes. You have a loan. Mobile. I think, I think, are you aware of this lady, Shivani Shiroya? Anyone has heard this lady's name? This is the lady who started all these things. You should actually listen to her TED talk. Now, she is the person in 2016, she said, a smart loan for people with nothing. And you know how they actually, you're right, sir. What they are trying to say is, if I see what you're doing on your phone, based on that, I can decide whether you are a person who I should give it or not. And I have access to everything. Who's your mother? Who's your father? Papa, mommy? That name would be there. I can, harass your relatives and all things. And that is something which you have to do. That anything we install in our phone, like with all due respect, I'm just telling it on a recorded session. I'm just telling you. Just go and check cred. How many of you have cred in your mobile phones? Anyone? No? Okay, cred is you should be scared of cred. The kind of permission cred application takes on your mobile phone, I'm telling you, is funny. They want to know everything. Your SMSs, their emails, they're reading everything. And that's the reason they are just taking money from you here. Yeah, that's a good one. You're right, Sridev, that's a good point. And cred is trying to take it at it. The Shivani wrote one very interesting. This is a TED talk you should do, and she's giving loan in Africa based on your mobile phone thing. And this became the model for many of the things, Money Tap, and other things like Navi and all things. How they're giving loan to that, and the micro loans are really, really dangerous. That's the kind of thing they are trying to do. And it's interesting what they come out with in terms of the management and all of that. So we need to understand those part also. So this is some statistical model like benefit law. It is just working on any data models and not just small thing. And more of like PDF and isolation forest. These are some machine learning models and all things. So what is happening is, as I was telling you, you can actually do a lot of interesting statistical modeling, like Banish model, what you would have learned in some point of there. There is Petrosky models. These are the models which are very interesting models. And you may not say that it's accurate. So statistic is not about accuracy. It is about giving an indication. And this can give a very interesting indications for us. I'll come to machine learning later. Real-time analysis you can do as and when it's happening. See, it can be a PMA and money laundering transactions or anything we need to deal with. And interactive visualization is a key thing because a picture is worth 1,000 words. When instead of giving 1,000 pages report, I give one visualization, that makes it easier for it. And it's also a concept which is nowadays catching up called storytelling. And storytelling is not about anything, but you try to analyze it from the business. You're not just trying to give a ready-made dashboard or anything as such. You're trying to analyze what is actually happening. What is the problem statement which is working out there? What is the thing which is making sense and how we need to take care of that? So all these things, friends, becomes very important. And we should be very careful when we are trying to see that. And especially the answer in the fraud analytics is all about one thing. We call it as the hindsight, insight, and foresight, which is very important. And I'm sure you should go through the use of data science in forensic. We have a standard also. And from the standard, one of the key things which is very important is whatever data analytics process you are following, it should be something which everyone else, if they follow the same steps, they get the same result. That is like, one of the important part of our forensic accounting and investigation standard on data analytics. So this part we should know that it can give us hindsight, what happened, insight where the problems are, what actions are needed, and why this is happening. And my interesting is on predictive. Predictive analytics are actually fun. I will tell you there have been very, very interesting analysis which has come across. Maybe at my leisure, I'll try to talk about, but some of them are really, really interesting because they'll tell you what will happen if the trend continues and what next will happen and what is the best that can happen. But I'll give you one example for this. Let's say you have a subsidiary in Sri Lanka and you have 200 subsidiaries all over, or not 200, maybe 100 subsidiaries all over the world, and you have one subsidiary in Sri Lanka. And suddenly you see one parameter, it says the sales has increased. Now that's a very good thing. Sales has increased, very good. But when you compare it with the sales of your competitors, their sales is stagnant and your sales is increased. Then you see the other parameters that 3 people from the accounting department has resigned and gone. You see another parameter that suddenly your inventory is gone high, as well as your sundry debtors has also increased, which means you are selling goods on credit. And then you try to see one more thing, that there are sales returns has increased. When you see all these parameters, a behavior is coming it up. We call it as basically that the trend is showing that something is not okay. What will happen if the trend continues? What is the value at risk? And what will happen next? Now, those kind of things, yeah, it's too good to be true, Vivek, as you rightly said. And these are the kind of things when you connect the dots, individually, it may be not a simple red flag. It's a one red flag, but when you connect the dot, the whole storyline comes up into picture, and that can be done. So these are the things from the perspective as we talked about can be very, very important part as we were talking it from a perspective of fraud analytics, because fraud analytics is one area where we have a lot of things which can work in terms of knowing what is happening. So we call it the foresight. Then we have talked about the hindsight. Then we can actually know about insight. So all of that things can be managed and taken it up there. I'll show you one example of this things of mix of all of the things. I'm sure all of you have heard about one tool is there called Concur from SAP. Now it is used for travel and entertainment expenditure management and all things. And there are multiple tools. Now travel and entertainment is one area, which is very funny area because the maximum amount of fraud happens there, but per line item wise, the value is so small, you don't want to give your time to that. Now, can we do it a way, what we call as a funnel approach, which basically means that I want to only see the transactions which are suspicious so that all transactions are actually audited in one way or other. Okay. It basically means everything is getting audited. And then I go one by one and see which one is there. So you can see that fraud analytics on dashboard, you can see is on using of on Concur data. So you're trying to see, cases of benefit loss application out there, variance analysis at any level, like who's spending more money. Everyone is going to Mumbai, but there's one guy who spent on average 15,000 rupees per day. Or cases which is against your SOPs, like a junior employee incurring for the senior employees, because it's easy. Then the senior guy can just approve it up. Or cash advance settlement analysis, association rule, national travel, how it happened, international travel. So let's say, for example, people are taking Uber and going it up. Everyone charges, some 800 rupees for that Uber trip from, if you have been to Bangalore, our airport is like 25 kilometers away from that, not like Kolkata, it's fun. It's in the middle of the city. Ours is like very, very far out. So anyone who's coming, on average, he'll be spending 1,000 bucks to just come into the city. But someone spent 3,000 rupees, then there is a kind of a thing which would do that. And humanly, you can't check each of them. It doesn't make sense. Or cost benefit analysis is also not there. So here you can actually do all this kind of variance analysis that, okay, these are the guys who are actually spending it up there. The two cases which are saying it, there 35K has been a total expenses, or trying to see it from a perspective of in comparable trips, same person, same grade. There are some guys who are spending a huge amount of money, or trying to see variance at any level which is there, how it is happening. Trying to see an association rule where they are trying to have a different rules and all things, and they are spending it money. And which are the areas where we have got the most issues? Like anyone who goes to this place, he will spend on money, food, travel, other things and all things. So can we see those kind of analysis also there? How the cash advances settlement is being done? Who is having the maximum cash advantage? So all these things are some of the examples of fraud analytics. So what basically you're trying to do is you're trying to create a funnel. Key on the top, you put 100%. You know, like I remember when I was doing my articleship, that time, if my boss has to punish me, he will say 100% vouching. That was a punishment. But today you can actually do 100% vouching by a rule-based things. I'm not talking machine learning, that is going to come later, but here it can help us in terms of analyzing. Similarly, we have another thing which is called process mining or data mining. This is very interesting, guys. I would highly recommend you to play around with that. Now, you know, again, I'll show you one tool, but my idea is not to promote the tool. There are hundreds of tools which can do that. Now, what is process mining? Let's try to understand first. Okay, this is something which is a very interesting technology which can be used by all of us in terms of doing it. See, all of us know there is something called as SOPs, standard operating process. Now, when you see SOPs, it is very interesting. Everyone says, oh, we follow the SOPs, right? But SOP always gives what we call it as the happy path, how it should be done. But is that everything? Not really. When you actually see the transaction, then you realize that people are not following the happy path. People are just trying to just do things as it is. So how do you check it out? Now here what we are doing is it's called timestamp. Every transaction in every ERP which happens will have a timestamp. When this past, thing happened, who did it, whatever happened, blah, blah, blah. So you take the timestamps. So you can say there's a case ID, a purchase order. What was the activity which happened? When this happened, who did it? And some other data about that. And then you put all this thing into an intelligent process mining, which will say, okay, out of 27,733 POs which was created, there was a huge amount of POs which was changed. 16,000, which is around 60% of them were changed. Now, is this a good thing or a bad thing? See, SOPs, we all know, but everyone says we follow SOP, but actually no one does it. There are 200 instances of manual payments, and there's a significant number of invoices without PO, and invoices are posted without GL. Now, this is what we do in process mining. In fact, in Europe and others, it is already a very, very, what we call it as a powerful tool. In fact, doing process mining is easy. Interpreting that is tough. People have to have a good understanding of the business to be able to do the interpretation. So you can see this is like on a sanitized data, procure to pay cycle, right? Purchase, acquisition, PO created, PO submitted, release, good received, GR accounted, invoice. But it all looks good, right? I want to see that there are so many transactions out there. I want to see how the transactions, where it is getting hit. So now this is like the SOP, the happy state. But are they really following the happy state or not? No, that is something which we need to do. So friends, here, when you do a deep dive analysis of this, you realize that actually the transactions are getting hit between purchase acquisition and PO credit. Can you see most of the transactions? Make it a little faster. Animation. Okay, so it's going out there, and I see that there are new paths being created. Can you see this? I see that purchase acquisition was created and directly PO was submitted. How is it possible? And I saw new paths are coming out there. I see that GR good receipt and GR accounting had happened, and then the invoice was entered. Again, there was invoice was accounted, and then it pointed. So I'm seeing new analysis coming out there. I can actually drill down as much as I want it to be done. So I can see the connections, I can see the activities, and it gives me that SOPs are not being followed at all. So what we know about the SOP is just like the document which you have to keep it in your office just for the purpose of sake of that. It is not adding much value out there. Yeah. So here this is the kind of thing which basically comes up and says, let's try to analyze it up there. And you can go one by one more deep, and you see that there are new paths being established, new things have been done, and that is not a good thing. So process mining, friends, is all about this. And this is a kind of a technology which can change the way we analyze any kind of information, especially from the perspective of what we call it as our tools and other things, and what is the SOP has been, how we are doing, and where there is a thing. You can see PO released and good received. There's a big, back gap happening out here. Now, these are the things which we need to, which we have to understand and be sure about. Okay. So this becomes an important tool for our work. I hope you got my point, guys. And here I want to tell you one more thing, that process mining interpretation is the biggest challenge. Doing the process mining is easy. Interpreting that process mining is tough. And that is something which we need to understand and take that forward. Okay. So this is about the process mining. Next, I'll go to one very interesting technology, which I'm sure you have heard about a lot of that. It is about what we call it as machine learning. And machine learning is a part of AI, which has become unstoppable now in forensic accounting. I would say when I say unstoppable now, people have tasted what we call it as, once you test the blood, you don't want to go back. So people have tested the blood, that this is a very interesting set of data. And when I say it's a very interesting set of data, friends, let me tell you why it is a very interesting set of data. Two reasons. First, if you see our technical, the way I'm sure many of us have done programming and all things. When we do programming, we have a standard approach. You should define the logic, whatever the logic is there. Based on the logic, we do the programming. You connect to the data source and you find the result of that. Now, this has been a traditional way we have all been done it. But imagine a new thing where you don't do the logic definition. You just give them the data set, that here is the data set, and build up your own learning model. And then the programming is done by machines and we get the results. Now, this is a complete different way from what we have done. Ultimately, it's using statistics only, like linear regressions and all that, but it is doing it in a different manner altogether in terms of what we call about. Now, let's say, for example, right now you're seeing my presentation here, right? Now, this presentation, I can have one feature, which I'm sure all of you know, which is subtitles. Like whatever I'm talking about is being coming out here, right? Now, this is also an artificial intelligence, but this is called as more of NLP, natural language processing. But, and you see, it's just learning. It's not correct all the time. Natural language processing is just trying to put it up there. Now, here, this is one part that is trying to process that. In machine learning, what I try to do is, I try to treat the computer program as a kid and tell them that, okay, how are you going to learn this? So for learning it, here is the data set. One of the best example which comes to my mind is AlphaGo. I'll give you a background of AlphaGo. It's a very my favorite thing. In fact, there is a full, 1.5 hour movie on AlphaGo. So there was a company called DeepMind, which was like the subsidiary of Google, Alphabet now. And I'm sure all of you have seen this thing, yeah? No. Okay, that is a good point. Vivek sir, macros would be RPA, robotic process automation. It will be it's like a part of RPA. Only repetitive tasks, I'm doing it. I'm not applying brain. But when it comes to applying brain, it is machine learning. Yeah, UI part types, or you can have it, any of the other thing, automation anywhere and all of this kind of thing. These are like, this one. But when we come to machine learning, they are a different animal altogether. So here, what I basically do, so what DeepMind did is, they said, which is the world's most complex game? People think it is chess, but no, chess is not the most complex game. The most complex game is a game called Go. It's a strategy game which is played extensively in China and South Korea, North Korea. We used to play Chinese checker when we were small. Then we started playing chess. So this is more complex than chess, you can think of. And you know what happened with Garry Kasparov, right? Garry Kasparov, he played against one of the program computer called Deep Blue from IBM. When he played against Deep Blue, that Deep Blue was working on a model which you see here, traditional problem solving. It was based on logic. So every time, so Garry Kasparov was there as a world champ, and I think he lost 2 games, won 1 game, something like that happened. 1995, 1996, I think that 1994 fight it happened. Okay, it was a great thing for IBM did that Deep Blue, and it was doing calculation and on logic, that chess it is there. Then this company came DeepMind. What DeepMind did is they made one program, computer program, which will say the rules of AlphaGo game is like this, like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. This is how you have to play the game. It only told the rules of the game and made program AlphaGo 1 and AlphaGo 2. And then AlphaGo 1 and AlphaGo 2 was playing against each other. So they played around 60,000 games. How much knowledge they got? They got knowledge of around 1,20,000 games. Then there was old games played by humans, which was video recorded, and those games was also fed it into the AlphaGo, that this is how the game was played. This happened, and this guy did this. So the AlphaGo was learning from other people also. So it was playing against his own version and learning. And over a period of time, they got him to play the world champion in Go. And that person lost like anything. In fact, he has retired from Go after losing to AlphaGo. It's a very sad story, but that was a kind of a thing that machine learning is so damn powerful that we can't just imagine how it can change all of those things. And again, I told you, my sincere request to you would be, if you have one technology on which you should focus in forensic, my suggestion is you should focus on machine learning. See, this is the whole movie AlphaGo. It's around 1.5 hours. You can watch it at today or on Sunday. Do watch it. I want to play this small analysis, which is there. Just 1 minute. You have to see the ad, no other option. So I want to play a small analysis of AlphaGo so that you understand the power of what do we call it as, machine learning. Machine learning is going to be the next big thing, and it's already catching up. And as Sir was talking about, okay, 1 minute. There's a 2 minutes video I just want to show you. Just 1 second, so that we are all on the same page.
You have to play the video.
Yeah, I'm just.
AlphaGo is trained to analyze situations itself. AlphaGo is trained to...
So I want to show you this one. Can you see this combinations which are there? Whatever we are talking about. And this is a very important thing that AlphaGo is able to break it down. In fact, KJ is and one more guy from South Korea. That now South Korea world champion retired already after that. What I'm trying to bring out here is, guys, this is interesting changes which are happening. And how does they do it? This is the most interesting thing. It basically do a feature extraction from the data set. So let me give you one use case so that you can understand it better. I will actually explain you with a example. Let me close this. So imagine, let's say Sridevi ma'am knows how to do a good audit of all the vendors. They want to know which are the suspicious vendors and all things. Now imagine I put all the attributes of my 300,000 vendors on an Excel sheet. What are the attributes? Name, address, and I try to see some suspicious thing also, like their address is not there on Google. And I found that they are having still Gmail as their mail ID. The company was incorporated only 1 year back, and they have got a lot of what we call it as, orders. These are all the points. Then I'll give it to you. Let's say one of you have done so much of third-party risk assessment and forensic review on third party if there is a suspicious transaction or suspicious vendor. Now, if I give it to you and you check this data and you give me that, I give you 100 sample data and you say, Anand, out of this 100, I think this 5 looks suspicious. Now, you may not be able to give me a reason. It may be your gut feeling also. Anything is fine, but you are telling me this 5 looks suspicious. Now, I will then put it to the rest of the thing based on your learning. That is called supervised learning. So I'm actually making sure that if you find a similar trend with similar kind of thing, bring it out and tell me there are issues. See, a human can see things from 3-dimension maximum. Machine can see the same thing into n dimensions. It can be any amount of dimension. So in unsupervised learning, the machine itself tries to see what are the different patterns which are coming in, and it will learn from that. And then it will make its own algorithm or the program. And based on that, it can do anything, grouping of objects, predictive models, annotated data, you name it, it can work on all of these. Okay, so those part becomes very, very important in terms of how we are dealing. So this is how machine learning works. And this machine learning concepts is so prevalent that you will see this happening every places, everywhere, as people are trying to work it out. There are a lot of use cases. I can actually show you one example of that. We did it for one company which is buying raw materials. So what happens is they have like 20 factories and they have some combination of 50 vendors who are supplying this raw material. Now what they wanted to know is, based on our past data, tell us which vendor is good for us to supply the goods. So we did a combination of factory. So which factory? So we saw that this guy is a same vendor in different things. You can see this one. These are good people. They are good people. But there are some things where we have issues. If you're buying from this guy, then there are some risks out there, high risk areas. Here, high risk areas. So we also did a calculation. It is basically automatic learning. Every time it is, it's not like a static thing. So the machine is learning all the time and seeing the price variances, which is there. It is trying to see how, based on the price variance, how the raw material is being used in productions. Also, it will try to see at a different point of time how the prices move, which plant is using it. So it's a very extensive thing, but it is trying to give you that, is there a fraud happening in your organization or not? Because there are chances of that when all this machine items are very expensive items, raw materials. So you can see the rankings comes, and based on that you can decide whom you want to do more business with and whom you want to basically do that. You can do that lead time analysis, how much time they do it, how the consumptions is happening. All of those things gives you a kind of a complete picture on what you can do. So you can also see that, how the crude on the trend price is happening and what are the things which is working about that. So my point which I'm trying to bring out here, friends, is machine learning is actually the future. And you may think, oh, no, this is very expensive or anything. Let me tell you, it's all open source. I don't know how many of you have heard about a site called h2o.ai. You can go and get it open source. All the algorithms are open source out here. I'm just showing you. Their AI cloud and all the open source things. You can just take their thing and connect and start doing it. You don't have to pay even a single rupee for that auto ML, all of that. So if you just give the data, it will learn it, and it's really interesting. And the second thing we can use it with this, and we are actually really gung-ho about that, is most of the forensic auditor always used to have challenge that, oh, how do we deal with all this kind of thing? We don't have tools and all things. We don't know technology. So nowadays there is a concept of low code, no code, LOCOD, no code. Like if you know Excel, you can actually be able to manage it up. So one of the very interesting tool in this field, especially in machine learning, is something called as Nine. It's an open source tool, free of cost, and it is on drag and drop. When I say drag and drop, it's basically like you have to just take the thing which you're doing. You have to just say, is it input, is it manipulation or anything? And you can just take one of the things, read an Excel file and bring it out here and just configure it up there. So it's so easy, like which file you have to take it up, what you need to want to do that, all of that kind of thing. So this is another technology. So there are a lot of low code, no code technology which are there. And this can be easily used by any person who want to do machine learning, who want to basically analyze it, or take it from a different perspective that, okay, I want to know how I can use it and take that forward. So machine learning is really very interesting area. And I would say you should start using it. It is going to be a really disruption in the forensic audit. Where people are using it right now is in invoice processing, payment of invoices. I have seen people using it also right now in one very interesting thing, reading ICR, intelligent character recognition, documents which are in paper format, reading it up automatically into the machine and taking it forward. So this is another interesting area which is there. Now, going back to our last 3 points, I'll just quickly cover it up. We have blockchain, email analytics, and file analytics. So let's start with blockchain. See, blockchain as a technology, I'm sure all of you have heard a lot about that, but it's a fraud prevention technology. To a great extent, blockchain has potential to say that, hey, you know what, can we somehow do something through which the chances of fraud goes down? It can be banked. So there's a single source of truth. We always see the biggest issues which happens because everyone is trying to come out with multiple sources. No one knows whether these multiple sources are correct or not. And because of which, what happens is there is a challenge which comes into picture. Okay. So that is one of the things which we need to understand it. Because unless and until you are clear about this part, it is going to be a big challenge, because everyone will be coming and saying, hey, you know what, how do we deal with that? So first, let's quickly understand what is a blockchain, and then we'll try to understand how to do it. See, for a long time, we have been what we call it as the custodian of ledgers, as chartered accountant, from this time till the latest ledger. Now, what happens is we had cryptocurrency comes into picture. And when I say cryptocurrency, you need to understand, I'm not saying blockchain is Bitcoin. Bitcoin was a cryptocurrency, but they wanted to have a ledger account, which will make sure a tamper-proof ledger, which can automatically keep a track of everything which is happening. Now, for that purpose, you can see that the white paper on Bitcoin came in 2008, but the real interest in blockchain, which is like the ledger, which keep a track of every transaction, came in 2014. So it took a lot of time. And today we have a lot of interest in blockchain because as a technology, it is a tamper-proof technology. It means it is multiple people can have access to that. No one can tamper with that. There is a consensus mechanism. And more importantly, it has what we call it as an easy way of tracking what's happening in that organization. So from that perspective, it becomes a very interesting tool. If you go by the definition of this one, it is nothing but, oh, sorry, one moment. When I go by the definition of this one, it is nothing but, we call it as a tool. It is nothing more than a kind of a database. It is just a database. And this is a database which is append only, which means you can add on the thing. You know, like we used to have a ledger. In a ledger, once an entry is done, you can't change it, right? You can just keep on pass on rectification entry. So it's an append only. And it's an auditable database. We have some technology like hash and other things which is used. So cryptography does. And they have a consensus mechanism. And this consensus mechanism allows us to do a lot of, things which we cannot do. So this is how a blockchain works. If I have to actually give you a very simple part of this one is, the reason you cannot cheat is at every step. You cannot tamper with the data, which used to be one of the biggest problem in any database. Even if you have an Oracle database or HANA database, if you have the access, one person can go and change it up here. Here it is not possible. It's a trust protocol. There are multiple people who are involved. There is a maths, there is a hashing and the coding. So without the middleman, we can still have what we call as a trust of safety, trust of issuance was damaged and correctness. And one thing you have to understand for this purpose, very importantly, blockchain is trying to solve a different problem. See, it is on the internet, what happened is earlier we used to have a problem of scarcity. The things are not there. Blockchain is trying to create scarcity on the internet because see, today NFTs are there, non-fungible tokens. This is what I'm creating scarcity. Only one copy is there. So then I have a cost of that. Otherwise, you can make hundreds copy of the picture on the web and do whatever you want to do. So here it is on the other side, which is trying to create a scarcity. Okay. So yeah, trustless system, totally. And that is the importance of blockchain. So again, I'm telling you, we don't want to talk about cryptos. We don't want to talk about other things. What we want to talk about is blockchain as a technology can do. Where? Let me explain to you. Interbank reconciliation. I don't know how many are aware of that, but already there is one agency which has been set up by all the banks together. They want to make sure that interbank reconciliation should happen because there's so much of time and effort which goes into that. And there are so many frauds happens where you're not able to track it up. You have seen the case of BRs in the scam. It happened because no one has a kind of a clue on who is giving what and all. Imagine putting everything on a blockchain where you have all this information and no one can tamper with that information single-handedly. That is not even RBI can do a single-handedly do that. Now that will bring up us to a kind of technology which can be easily handled. Okay.
Anand sir, one question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the thing is that World Economic Forum came with the data which you have shared also, that how accountancy will be the least required job and you will have a data analytics and data mining people only.
Yes,
and
sir.
with the blockchain and SAP HANA integrating the banking with banks directly, and I think 80% of the time of the accountants go in reconciliation. And
Yes,
when
sir.
the reconciliations will be done away, whether accountants will be required if you are going for RP and blockchain technology, and all your PRS reconciliation with the vendors and the customers are done away, the balance sheet will be made in 1 or 2 days and everything will be live. There will be no PRS matters. So what will be the looking at the other aspect also, we keep on talking that World Economic Forum says that the accountants will be least required job.
Yes.
And you should make your children data analyst, not a coder, I would say, but application of the accountant as a data analytics, as a blockchain, as a artificial intelligence or machine learning.
Right. So I will tell you, sir, I have one thing, which is like, I agree with you completely. See, this is actually going to be eliminating our traditional work. When I say traditional work, I remember when I was doing my articleship, sir, we used to see that a chartered accountant who is having a lot of files, income tax file was known as to be good to successful chartered accountant. Now that definition has gone away because, income tax filing is not great unless you are actually in the litigations and all that kind of thing. Now, similarly, as you rightly said, sir, the end state, I think very nicely you have put it up. And for other people, I'll just tell you, you can go to the World Economic Forum site on blockchain. They have actually one very nice paper on reimagining the thing. So they said that every information of the company, bank transaction, this one, if it is coming onto blockchain, you don't require to have all this reconciliation. And as you rightly said, double entry system of bookkeeping, one of the biggest problem is reconciliation, right? Because you will write one entry in the books of X, this is the entry. In the books of Y, this is the entry. In examination position, Vikas sir, it is okay. But in real life, there are two people passing the entries. How they pass and all things, there is no control over that. Now, this becomes a challenge. So once with the blockchain comes, it eliminates the fraud, it eliminates the human intensive works. And so what happens is the importance of us will go down for sure. It may be in 7 to 8 years. I don't think we'll have so much of requirement of chartered accountants at all. Now, where we can pivot, I would use the word pivot. See, we have a very good business knowledge. Now, people think, oh, technology stuff. I don't want you to become coder, but now what is happening is there's a lot of low code, no code platform. We should know like low code, no code, and this kind of thing is allowing us to think logically and work on that. So as you rightly said, if you saw to Future of Job report also, which I showed in the beginning, you will notice one very interesting thing. They said the skill set which are going to be required is problem solving. It will be something knowing artificial intelligence, understanding it up. Even CFA, one of the other professional body, they have now 100 marks paper in artificial intelligence. So we have to go for that. I remember when I was doing my articleship, that CA, that time there is time, you remember, sir, we used to have one paper called SADP. There we used to have programming in, this was COBOL. In CA examination, they used to write it up there. Off late, we have become little soft with our students. So, they are like, "Arey, chalo, don't want to do all these things." But slowly we have to upgrade ourselves on all these things. Otherwise, yeah, I completely agree with you, Vivek sir. We would be left behind because the technologies are changing. So it's something like this, when first there was a time when there used to be a thing called pager. If there are some young people who have never seen a pager, watch Pushpa movie, you'll understand what is a pager. And if you see a pager, the moment SMS came, the whole industry was finished. Now, I don't mind that, today government has so much of information. Already I was talking to someone in GST, he said, we want every invoice to be created on our systems only in future. They are trying to come out with that thing. It will take some time, but they want to do that. Then what will happen is they have the invoices, they have the data. Why do we require so many chartered accountants? So we have to pivot. So that is my point of view, Vivek sir. So anyway, I am old, another maybe 15 to 20 years.
You are young, sir. You are not old. You
No,
are
no,
making
sir.
us feel old because it's a high time. Either we re-engineer our process of work, we re-engineer our knowledge, or we perish. Like as you keep on saying, how the travel industry was taken over.
Yes,
Yesterday, Mr. Aniket Talati, who was there in Calcutta for felicitation, he was saying that airlines never see the other airlines as a competitor, but Zoom and Blue Jeans as a competitor.
Yes.
Because people used to travel for 1 hour, 15 minutes meeting.
Yes.
It's happening online. So that is how competition will come. And it's actually a fact that 15 years, 20 years back, when we used to go to bank and take our cash out in 1 or 2 hours, and we used to feel happy that we got our money.
That. Yes.
So those were the days, and we remember taking a Tatkal ticket and standing in queue for 4 hours for a railway station. 20 years, 15 years back, in articleship, going back to home for a Tatkal ticket. And now things have really changed drastically.
Sir, so I remember this one very nicely said. I think during my articleship, you remember the one-time settlement scheme of MCA came. We used to stand in the queue for like, 3 hours, 4 hours. Our office will keep on sending files. We are standing in the queue. Ek karke denge. Those things are going away. That's the thing. You don't require that time. That time people used to say 1 or 2 extra persons and all things. Today, I'm sure a lot of us, in fact, I have stopped using cash a lot now. Like everything is on the thing and it becomes easy. So it's just going to come and hit us. And I'm telling you, as you rightly say, I think Aniket, it will be great as he is a person with a vision, we have to understand that we need to upgrade ourselves. We have my gut feeling, maximum 5 years window you have. Maximum 5 years, I'm just telling you. After 5 years, if you and me will sit together, Vivek sir, and we'll discuss, we'll say, hey, those were the days and all that thing. Because there is going to be drastic changes which are coming. And it's not just in India, it's worldwide. And the World Economic Forum, if you read the report in detail, they are trying to tell us a lot of things which is happening. In fact, you will be shocked to know one very interesting thing. In Bangalore, which was to be a BPO, KPO capital, the work has gone down drastically after RPA came into picture. Robotic process automation came into picture. You don't require that many of people now. No one is hiring, BPO's hiring used to be like big thing. In Bangalore, like every damn they can, there has to be going on. As you rightly said, people have realized these things, that changes are coming. It's high time we appreciate that and, prepare for that. Otherwise, it will come and hit us one fine day and we will not even know that.
Anand sir, just to say that we all are in practice because we have to move towards perfection. We'll never become perfect. And we should always remember, I was saying today also to President Devashish Mitra, that we have to work tomorrow in a better way than today. So that we save some time. I'll give you a small example. When you take out the report from SAP of vendor or debtor, earlier we used to do the data cleaning and it used to take 2 or 3 days. Now with the simple macros which we made for one time, everything can be done in 2 or 3 minutes. So that is how we have to upgrade ourselves, and that is what macros is the RPA for us as of now. Audit field, because we all are from mid-size firm. I think we all should start using Excel. If anyone can use Excel for 1% also, it will be a great game changer.
I agree, sir. And also, I'll tell you, one of my friend is there, Venu. I hope you've heard about him. Venu.
Who doesn't know Venu? He's a regular over here, and we have Mr. Jangid also who will be teaching us how to do this Benford and RH on their Saturday session.
Yeah, so Venu, I'm telling you, if you know Venu in Bangalore, he's a GST expert. He has used RPA for GST reconciliation. He's using RPA tool in his office. I know that for sure. He's a good friend of mine.
He has given a workshop to us also for same. And Venu has been taking session on macros for GST for last 2 or 3 years.
Amazing.
And in lockdown, he has been really very instrumental for our members as well.
Yes. No, that's the thing, sir. These are the things which is changing. Forensic accounting, you take it, our regular GST practice, everything is getting impacted with that. Now we have to just start using it up there. As much as we use, that is going to be the change, sir. Great. So last 2 things I just quickly covered, sir, is mail analytics and file analytics. Email analytics is very important. Now there are tools like Intella, our firm also have a tools, multiple organization, I'll not want to do that. But mail analytics actually gives you that how many mails have come, who is talking to what. And this is actually a very interesting area. And that has been extended to file analytics. So basically what happens is whenever we do a forensic, you start with what we call it as imaging the hard disk. Imaging the hard disk is different from copying a hard disk because an image is acceptable in the court of law. A copy of the hard disk is not acceptable in the court of law. And there in that image, there are going to be a lot of files. So we have over a period of time, because we are working in this field, and nowadays, the good thing is that you have a lot of resources on which you can build upon this kind of tool. So can we do a better search than Google? Yes. In a small data set, you can do a better thing. So you can see association. How many data files were there? What was the word used in that? What was the things which happens? What was the trigger point? So mail analytics and file analytics are 2 very interesting emerging areas. And you know why they are emerging area? Because people are using it with a combination of machine learning and other things. And that itself adds a lot of value. So we have to understand that together, these points can have a huge disruption in the field of what we call it as forensic accounting, I just want to summarize what are the points we discussed. So friends, we started with open source intelligence, and I've just showed you open source intelligence. Some of the sources which we discussed is actually so powerful that it can be used. Yes, we have to be careful how we are going to present the court of law, how we are going to use it. Those information is different, but it gives you kind of a complete picture in terms of what are the things which is happening, how we are trying to take it up and manage it up. And then friends, we talked about The second one, which is deep web search engine. When I say deep web search engine, there are a collection of search engine which can be a kind of program to you. And this one are something which are very, very powerful for all of us. And these deep web search engines may take some time, but it can give you information which even Google cannot find it. And with all due respect, Google is having a lot of money spent on them to get their ranking and other things done. So it would be better to go to someone which can give you a more independent view and you can be clear about. Social media, with so many people, humans on social media, I think I would say 60% of the human population is on social media. So it actually gives you a kind of a very powerful tool to figure about everyone and take it forward and manage it up in terms of how we would like to focus on that and do that. Then friends, we went into the fraud analytics, which is like using data science to discover frauds. And when I say discover frauds, frauds are everywhere. So it's just the matter of times. If you put your right perspective, then we can actually easily get hold of all these points in terms of fraudulent areas and all the things. And there are a lot of areas which is high in volume. When I say high in volume, it is too much of transaction data, and you don't have the bandwidth to go for that. And on that kind of things, we can actually use fraud analytics extensively. And when you dashboard it up there, it gives you a funnel approach. A funnel approach is nothing but you put everything in the funnel. The final output which comes up is a kind of a something which the forensic accountant can chew, which can actually process it up and make sure instead of boiling the ocean. So that makes sense out there. Then we talked about, friends, process mining. It's a very interesting area where we try to see the SOPs and variants from SOPs. And we see actually how the business is functioning. What are the things which is happening, how they are working it out, and then manage it across the board. Post that, friends, we deep dive into machine learning, which is really the rock star today in this area, where you try to teach the machine to see data from not just one perspective or two or three dimension, you try to see it from n dimensions. And these areas can be very, very impactful and powerful in terms of how we look at to them and how do we manage it up there. And the idea is to have either supervised, unsupervised, and or new data learning, which is like basically trying to keep on giving more data and trying to see how it works. And please note one very important thing which is here, which is important out there, that these models can be developed for anything. And it's like not something which you'd have to learn coding or anything for that, because it's just low code, no code platform like NIME and other things which we can use. And that is more than powerful in terms of managing it up there. Okay. Friends, then we have blockchain, which can be a good area to avoid reconciliations, and also it can act as a fraud prevention tools. I would say as a technology, it can be a very, very powerful technology and manage it out there. Then we went to mail analysis, which is like trying to give the complete chain of the mail, who is talking to whom, how much of that. And mails are always there because and subconsciously also we'll be sending a huge amount of mails every day. And that can act as a pretty good repository for you in your investigation in terms of knowing what is happening, who's doing what, and all that kind of thing. And finally, file analytics, which is actually, as Vivek sir rightly said, image data. I told you about something autopsy, which is you do an imaging of a hard disk. And once you image a hard disk, it is like something which has to have a proper chain of custody, because you have taken into the court of law. Tomorrow, no one should say that, oh, Anand has tampered with this or someone has tampered with that. And that becomes a very important thing. On that set of files, can we do analysis? Okay, Brenda, again, as I told you, disclaimer, there are two good tools. There is something called as Intella, and we have also something called as Mailverse from our office. We have developed this tool our in-house. So there are Intella and Mailverse are good. File analytics, there are no tools. We developed one thing because we had a problem statement of going through that. So we call it Fiverr. So there are a lot of tools, Vrinda, which are there in the market. But file analytics, it is still catching up. It's a new area. Mail analytics, Intella is there, and one I told you, one of from our organization also we have a tool like that. So there are a lot of tools on these areas which can be used, but it all depends on your choice, what you want to do with that, and how you want to analyze it. So these are the different types of technologies, friends, which are coming our way. And I'll tell you, this is not static. There is a lot of, I would say, undercurrent happening in all of them. They are changing as we speak. When I say changing as we speak, earlier process mining used to happen in a static way only on the timestamp. Today, there is a machine learning and there is like a crossbreed of machine learning and process mining happening. Earlier, we used to have machine learning separate and statistical model separate. Now there is a kind of a crossbreed happening between them. So what I'm trying to say is, it is not like a single thing. You can see I'm a foodie from my, how fat I am. So it is something like people keep on making their own combination. Like I don't know how many of you like gulab jamun with ice cream or bundi with ice cream. I like bundi with ice cream, and some people take bundi with something else. So it's a combo. You can make it up as you would like to do that, depending on. So it's very interesting. It's actually evolving area. So it all depends on how you would like to leverage it out and take it up there. So that's something, my submission. I'm really thankful for the patience hearing, guys. Any questions, any query, feel free to let me know.
I think at the level of 3 hours, to take a session for 3 hours is very difficult, Anandji. And Anandji, sir, I would say that in this platform, we can teach fishing. We cannot catch the fish for the people.
Yeah.
So it is more of the giving the concept. It is more of the saying that there are things you please explore, work, and then implement. I'll say a simple thing. We keep our files very properly in office because files has reduced, but the files in the desktop or the laptops are haywire.
Yeah.
The mail management has gone for haywire. We know there is an issue, there's a problem,
yes,
but we don't go for solution. Thank you, Dinesh ji. He has joined from Jaipur. This is what
great.
technology has done for us. Dinesh ji is joining from Jaipur. Sridevi ji is joining from South. So
Amazing.
we have North, East, West, everywhere. And we all want to have this wave of forensic so that we are future ready. We are ready for the future and we can have the first mover advantage. It is never too late. Because if we sit around, we will become Nokia or BlackBerry. It's up to us whether we want to accept the Android and move towards becoming a Xiaomi or Samsung for that matter. So I think this was one of the most practical oriented workshop we can ever have. The screenplay of this session was fantastic, taking from one point to another point to third point, and then relating to the practical world. Because it's very easy to say something, but to relate to the practical world becomes very important. And that is how we connect as a people or the practitioner or the people from MSME practice, I would say.
Yes, sir.
Because no one in this group has the coding background. So I was asking someone, was coding kaise seekhe? Because now kids are learning coding at class 1.
Yes.
So whether to go for R or Python or for some other language, he said, Vivek, you are chartered accountant. Earlier, you used to see an invoice or a voucher, you used to think GST ठीक है कि नहीं, input मिलेगा कि नहीं, TDS कटेगा कि नहीं. Now we have to see fraud हुआ है कि नहीं.
सही बात है.
Now we have to see a 360 degree, as you said, 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional, and the system see from nth dimensional.
Yes,
we as a chartered accountant has the capability and the ability whether to start a startup or whether to do a practical approach analysis, or to become an entrepreneur, or to become a finance guy, or to become a perfect coder, or I would not say coder, to interpret the software which is there. So instead of this saying to tie up with the firms, I think it's high time we mid-size firm tie up with a startup who does coding and all, and then we have a good synergy with them and grow as a practice, because that is where the future lies. Nowadays, the transaction at the store level or kirana level has gone down drastically, and everyone, thanks to lockdown, technology has taken 10x faster movement, and everyone is doing a Swiggy, Flipkart, or Amazon. So digital transactions are increasing, data is increasing, and if we go by old school of thought, we will not be able to do a simple audit, leave about forensic or stat audit. We won't be able to give a single assurance. I'll give a practical example, Anandji.
Yes, sir.
10 years back, when we were doing the audit of one of the retail giant, they have this store at the airport.
Mhm.
So that time we thought of doing a time-wise analysis, and we found that most of the bills were entered at the night time. So the store person was going out, buying these things inside, and keeping the profit with themselves via manual billing.
Oh,
Via manual billing. Or if you say like in a real estate industry, the company is buying RMC, but there is no labor cost on that day. No costing is happening.
uh,
So as I said earlier, we used to see RMC bill, boss purchase price kitna hai, landed cost kitna hai,
सही है.
price ka comparison hua ki nahi hua, best price L1 was taken or not. Now the multiple or nth angle to that has come, and we as a practitioner, everyone has to wake up. It's a wake up
Yes.
call, and this COVID has given a right call for us because technology has taken forefront. And today, like Devashish Da was also saying, we won't be called an accountant or chartered accountant in future. ICI wants to become a technology service provider.
Amazing.
And there is lots of courses happening, but first we have to introspect where we can go. We cannot do everything. We have to move out of the audit and the right to audit, and we have to move to something which is there. There's a blue ocean theory by Sir Goldwyn.
Yeah.
We have to accept the blue ocean theory, and India can give service to the world in this forensic, I suppose. Thanks to ICI, thanks to people like you who have drafted the first forensic accounting standards, and
That's right.
we will take the first mover advantage and become a service exporter in the field of forensic. Thanks a lot, Anandji, for this short notice
Pleasure,
seminar
sir.
which happened. And in spite of your busy schedule, tomorrow being a audit committee, taking 3
Yes.
hours today, and in between your works, it becomes very difficult. And you have always been at the go-getter men for ACAE.
No, no, sir. It's a pleasure for me. It's a really nice. Thanks a lot, Vivek, for this opportunity. I really appreciate this. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Just to inform you, last month we had 2 forensic sessions. Now we are having 5 workshops for 5 days. And next month we plan again 2 sessions every month so that people are forced to learn forensic. Are forced to understand forensic, learn or not, like their choice. We can make them understand it. It may be given as an eye opener. It's up
Yes.
to them what they want to choose. So anyone having any quick questions so that we can be on time and close on time, because sir started on time.
No, it was good actually. I realized good questions were there and really enjoyed it actually. And I would love, like as Vivek ji said, it's good. We can understand, we know this, we can leverage it at any point of time, but knowledge is supreme. You know, we know this is there. It can be leveraged as the way we would like to do that. It's a great area to do that.
Because people keep on saying that MBAs are good presenters. I would say CS can hire any number of MBAs and any number of coders because they are the entrepreneurs. They are
Yes.
the nation builders. I think your delivery was so perfect. There's no question as such. Thanks a lot, Anand sir. Looking forward for more deliberation from you and more learning. Because
Pleasure,
it's always enlightenment when we listen to you.
Thank you, sir, Vivek sir. It's a great opportunity. Thanks a lot for this. Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot. Thanks a lot. Thank you
you.
everyone for joining. Tomorrow sharp at 4 o'clock, we'll have none other than Chetan Dalalji for taking the practical case studies in the world of fraud and forensic. Thank you everyone. Ending the meeting over here.